After Martin Luther King Jr. was disheartened in a failed attempt to integrate Albany, he wanted to integrate one of the most segregated cities in the South, Birmingham. At the time, we were African-American teenagers living in the extremely racist city of Birmingham. As we recall, one of the biggest promoters of segregation in our city was Police Commissioner Bull Connor. The city passed racist laws including voting right laws and other pieces of legislation allowing segregation. Along with these laws, the city used intimidation to suppress us.
We remember Martin Luther King Jr. coming to our city along with members of the SCLC to organize Project C, C standing for confrontation. Project C's goals were filling the jail to put pressure on the city government and draw media attention to the evils of Jim Crow laws. The first step under Project C was to hold sit-ins in heavily segregated lunch counters. We remembered reading about these sit-ins in the newspapers and also remember hearing about the 35 people arrested because of the sit-ins, partially completing one of Project C's goals.
We also vividly recall 45 protesters marching down towards City Hall, protesting segregation and being thrown in jail for parading without a license. The day after this parade, 2 police dogs attacked a 19-year-old protester while hundreds watched the attack. In response to this canine attack and the parade that had taken place a day earlier, the city government had gotten the court to place a ban on these demonstrations. King openly broke the law when holding a mass march toward downtown. He and many of the other marchers were arrested.
8 white clergymen called this act unwise and untimely. We remembered reading Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail addressing this comment while many other issues. We especially recall King writing his letter, "While confined here in Birmingham City Jail, I come across your recent statement calling our present activities unwise and untimely. Frankly, I've never yet engaged in a direct action movement that was well timed. According to the timetable of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation."
King was released from jail on April 20th and began planning, along with the SCLC D-Day demonstration. The D-Day demonstration would mainly be children. We recollect King saying most adults have to pay bills, house notes, rents, car notes, utility bills, but the young people are not hooked with all these responsibilities. A boy from high school has the same effect in terms of being in jail, in terms of putting pressure on the city as his father.
Because of this quote, we decided to join in on the protest. On May 2nd, the first group of 50 kids marched 16th Street Baptist Church towards downtown, but were met by police and taken to jail in vans. Soon after that, another group marched towards downtown, then another and another and another, until police had to start taking kids to jail in school buses. We remember being put in a crowded jail cell in a jail with 959 other children who had participated in this march.
The next day, over 1,000 more children marched downtown from the church. This time, police were even more determined to stop the children from reaching downtown, but the jail was extremely full. We remember hearing terrifying news that police called in firefighters to spray kids with hoses to keep them from reaching downtown. The fire hoses were enough to make most flee, but there was one group who stood their ground. To stop this group, an even stronger hose was brought in that could break bones. The water caused many to collapse on the street. We also heard another horrifying thing from that day. The police also let a canine force out on protesters trying to get back to the church.
This story was front-page news everywhere and shocked the nation. Since the jails were filling up and the police department did not know what to do with so many protesters, many public places were integrated in fear of the city being destroyed. Many lunch counters and places of business were also desegregated. When we heard the news of desegregation, we were ecstatic and knew this was the first step for equality between blacks and whites in Birmingham. This victory was also extremely important to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.